In today's video, I'm losing my mind over wiring. Let's get into it. Alright guys, we got wiring harnesses out of both cars. So we got the Gen 2 3S GTE here, and we got the 2SE harness, which looks a lot nicer than that other one. That's gonna fall. Keep that sitting there so mice don't get into it and stuff. But I've been labeling, doing a lot of camera or things off camera. So as you can see here, we have kind of blue painter's tape, just labeling what these things are. So I got injectors labeled, stuff like that. Injectors up here are labeled, and other things. And on the other harness too, I got things labeled also, so I know where what is, and hopefully I can figure this wiring thing out. But a lot of work left to do. I've got my computer out, and we're going to start labeling the terminals on the new Gen 2 3S GTE harness, and that's so I don't get mixed up with anything regarding ECU pin locations and wire locations. So if I do get them mixed up, I know I can refer back to my Excel sheet where I'm going to be putting all this stuff on, and I can get back into it and be like, hey, this wire goes to this terminal, pin location, whatever. So there's a lot of locations that things can get messed up at, so having that labeled will save me a lot of time. So another thing with labeling these wires, I've been using a little ohm meter to do a continuity test. This helped me to backtrack from this terminal. I could plug in one of the black or red cables from the ohm meter, plug it into that ECU pin location, and backtrack all the way to where it actually goes. So like say this alternator ground, it's brown wire. I could also do it by colors, but the ohm meter tells me when I touch this point and touch the ECU pin location, which is the far right top one, it's getting a current through it. So that means it's complete circuit, which tells me that's the correct wire location. And that ground also goes to a whole bunch of different points, so it's kind of just figuring out where that ground goes, and the same goes with every other wire, but it's kind of like a extra precaution to make sure, hey, that wire is where it's supposed to be going, rather than just saying brown wire goes here. It's just an extra double check to make sure that we're doing it properly. I've also got some diagrams from online. This is kind of the engine bay, and this is all the sensor connection pieces. So like K1 here is the knock sensor on the back of the engine block, which is over here, and that guy is like right here. So it's kind of handy to have, make sure I'm getting all the things labeled properly. I have a lot of connectors on here that aren't labeled, and I don't know what they go to, but hopefully I'll figure that out. But another double checking thing and stuff like that. But this whole harness is going to be changed completely, because on the MR2, if we go over here to the car, this is a Toyota Celica, so front engine rather than rear engine. On the MR2, your ECU location is going to be over here, and flipped on to the other side of the rear engine. Rather than in a Celica, ECU wires go down here into the actual car. So what I'll be doing is a lot of messing around with depinning stuff, taking the wire out, laying it on the new engine so it corresponds to the car location, so I don't have to extend as much wire or change as much. But that means this whole harness is taken apart right now, and yeah, it's kind of a mess, but we'll get there. Things to work on, but I think we're going to get into working on the Excel sheet and going from there, and I'll just So I've got 2 terminals left to mark up, and then I'll put those in the computer also, and then everything will be labeled, and maybe I could start de-pinning stuff and kind of organizing where wires need to go. So a lot of this engine isn't mocked up again. I told you guys earlier, but I'm going to just unpin them, lay them out on the engine, and then repin them back into the ECU plug where it's supposed to go, and then hopefully that'll help kind of make everything line up properly wiring wise, and I can get rid of stuff I don't need or leave things I do need, and it'll be organized, hopefully. So day number probably like 7, 8, 10. I'm starting to lose it, but hey, we got wires, more than we need, but we're getting there. Let me show you what I've done. Okay, so we got a big bundle of wires here, and we got a nice little spreadsheet that tells us everything we need to know about each little terminal. I've taken like a picture so I can double check it, but so pin number 1 on top, that is a alternator ground. So now when I unpin this and I have this little wire marked, I can plug it back into the same spot that it came out of, rather than being like, hey, I don't know where this wire goes anymore. I can finally plug it in the right spot, unconnect it, put it on the engine where it needs to go, and go from there. So we got a lot done yesterday. Everything's marked up, ready to be unpinned, placed in its correct location, extended, spliced into certain areas, and stuff like that. The other thing is I haven't figured out body harness stuff yet, which I'll do at a later point once I get all these wires organized. And then I'll go back to this harness on the old 2SE and figure out what all these were, because this is body harness stuff. These are too, and go from there. So I can maybe disconnect this terminal, plug it into this harness, make everything work, and go from there hopefully. If not, I'll have to figure that out. But we're getting along pretty good. I've got a couple other parts I'm waiting on, like an igniter assembly and a coil, and I believe I still need a fuel pump resistor or whatever it's called. So that's probably one of these terminals that I don't know what it goes to. So hopefully I can find one of those and they're not too expensive, but we'll get that here soon. Other than that, I'm just going to start de-pinning some things and maybe see if I can like organize them on the engine the way I want them, because I know definitely I'm going to have to extend both the terminal 1 and 2 so it can go into the through the firewall and into the car itself. And I've got plenty of wire over here to do that, and maybe I could find the same color wire, but I don't know yet. So just things like that to figure out, but getting there. So the harness is gone. I threw it in the dumpster. No, just kidding. So I've got it all disconnected. Terminals, and I think there's one other one up there. Unpinned for all the sensors. I don't know what they're to, or I just haven't laid them out on the engine yet. But if we go over here, past all the working stuff, I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but I've started laying wires out on the engine. So like oxygen sensor is coming across where it needs to be. The turbo pressure sensor is where it needs to be. Kind of just gathering to a point here, which is all going to be the ECU stuff. So it's getting there. Okay, so I'm going to end this video here. I've done a lot of wiring work behind the scenes and stuff like that, but I've got a lot of work done, and just one step at a time before I start plugging everything back in, covering it up, making it look nice, and hopefully putting it in the car. I don't know if I'll have time. I got to go back to school here soon, so I'll put some more content out there and let you guys know. Thanks.